Good morning, and good morning. How was your long and my long too? I'm trying to get this straight. Okay, there it is. Your long holiday weekend. I had a good time. Didn't do much. Kind of rested a lot and went to a jazz concert. In fact, I helped work it, and it was delightful. There were a lot of people. We were busy all night making sure people were comfortable, and seating was tough because we were trying to seat 175 people, and then we had people waiting to get into the event. So that was with Antoine Knight and Paula Atherton and Rob Zen, and they were good. If you love jazz, go on my page, my Facebook page, and you'll see them. They were delightful. So, had a good time doing that. Also, lost a friend on last Friday. A good friend to her battle with cancer is now over. She had a 10-year battle, and that's over. So that was kind of tough, but I knew that she was tired. She told me she was tired. So sometimes we have to pay attention to when we put in all that we can do. When it's over, it is over. That's the same thing with jobs and relationships. And eventually it will be life. We've just put in all we can put in. But anyway, diligence. That's our word for today. Diligence. Um, it was actually a word for Friday, but since I was dealing with some, kind of emotional stuff, I really didn't feel like I was in a position to really talk about diligence because I wasn't diligent on Friday. But anyway, what is diligence? So I found a poem by Kaylee Chu, written in 2010. It's really quick. It says, diligence is to be hardworking and to listen during lessons. It also means to do our best in everything. Giving up is not an option, even when times are hard. We should never give up. Continuing to work hard, that's what we learn in endeavor. We are diligent. Are you diligent? Are there things that you have to do? I mean, I can look around and see that there's things I have to do. I've been working on them, but I have to work harder to get finished. And to me, work is never finished, because if you're a person that, you look around and you see things to do and you conquer it, it just leaves room for you to do something else. Always, always, always. So let me turn off my phone because I just heard somebody ping in, and I want to make sure that we are not interrupted, since I haven't seen you in a minute. But hopefully everything has gone well for you as well. And let's see. Okay, it's off. So anyway, when we talk about diligence, we're really talking about, to me, it is perseverance. It's personality, because if you get a person that has a personality of not wanting to work, well, then they're not good to work with or for. And you understand that they're not workers. You want a worker. You want to be a worker. Or maybe you don't. I think if you've already worked all your life, you maybe don't want to be a worker. You want to just chill out, do nothing, do you, do you. And that's okay. I mean, I think it's perfectly honest. When you've done enough, you've done enough. You don't want to do any more. So anyway, the word diligence, it says, is careful and persistent work or effort. It's steady, earnest, energetic. Do you know people like that? Okay, it says it's also when something is done in a persistent manner. They give attention to it. They don't let it slip. They know it's on their watch. I think about things that I've been involved in, and if I'm in charge, then it's got to be right. If I'm second or third, I'll let the top know that something's missing, especially if it's in my area. But it belongs to them, it doesn't belong to me. So it says when something is diligent, it says the effort must be put in. You must look at the persistence of it, give it attention, and that it would be completed timely. And timely doesn't necessarily mean today. It may mean that the project is on for 2 years, or it's on for 6 months, or it's on for a few days. You understand that, and that's what you do. That's how you deal with it. But when we move on in our word, and I'm going to ask you this morning: have you been diligent? Have you? I am. I'm diligent. The fact that I was doing this work of Are You Stuck on the weekend, making sure that I have one for today and one for Friday. So I'm already in this idea that I must play in the field that I've set up to play in, which is be prepared. Be prepared. Good morning, Adelia. How are you? How was your holiday? Good to see you in this space this morning. Thank you so much. Our word is diligence, excuse me, diligence. And I know that in your daily walk, you are diligent, of what you do. So when we break the word down this morning, my D is for dignity. I believe that when you're doing a job, once the job is over, you want to say that you did it in a dignified way. You still have dignity in what was left behind in terms of what you did. So therefore, I'm going to go with dignity. I said high. Sometimes it may be the high position within society, or at least in those who are looking. Sometimes we don't have to talk about it being high up in the echelon of class. We're just talking about it being class of whatever it's at. It's decent. It's decent. Determination is a good word. That's a great word. So it says when we have dignity, it says it's notability, meaning that once you leave it, people can say, "Wow, they did a fine job." I want that. I want to hear that I've done what was required of me to do. It also talks about being quality, and that it ranks higher than what you know you certainly you want it to rank high. You don't want it to rank, but maybe higher than your competitors. That it leaves a statement that it has a standing and a ranking within who's ever viewing it. I always look at paintings, and I look at things that have been held in high value, high esteem for years and years and years, such as, like paintings, like of all of the famous painters that are out there, and you look at their works, and some of them are like, wow, how they do that, back then, to make it look like there's nice fine lines in the face, and the lips are identified just right, and the hair, and looks like every single fiber, that when that person was done, there was no question that they left it in their work. They left it in their work, and there was dignity to it. So it also talks about a distinction and a grandness, and how many things have you seen in your life that you would consider to be grand? If you've ever traveled and you've gotten an opportunity or had the opportunity to see things that are just unbelievably built, unbelievably positioned, like on high mountains. And, I'm always amazed every time I go someplace to, witness the work of what others have done. I'm always pleased. My I, as I move on in the word of diligence, is industrious, as in diligent. Okay, there you go again. It involves the same word. And it says involved in often constant activity, industrious, meaning the work is still going to go on. Somebody's still going to be doing what needs to be done to get this project completed, this work done. It's always towards the effort of completion. So it says when something is industrious, that means There's constant activity. Even if you go home to sleep, you're going back to it the next morning. you know I remember when doing certain projects with people, I would go to work and work on it and then go home and take it to bed with me, get up with it, where it was still that prominent in my mind to say, I must complete this. I have to. And if there were things that I needed to change, that meant I needed to tweak it. I needed to really look at it to make sure that it was what we needed to leave behind, of something, of a project that had been completed. So when something is industrious, that means it's been diligently attacked. We've engaged in what we expect it to be. We're busy. How many times have you had people that have major projects to do and they're not busy? Good morning, Maurice. How are you doing, my friend? Hey, hey, hey. Good to see you in the space today. The word is diligence. So far we've done dignity. I'm on industrious. Usually, and anybody that has a job knows that there's certain requirements for that job in order for you to be paid or not to be or not to be downgraded and somewhat evaluated as being less of a contributor. So diligence certainly says that I must be employed, which is a part of the industriousness. I must be active. I must occupy the space that I'm in with the time that I use wisely to complete their work. It says I must be assiduous, laborious, and bustling. That's what industrious is, meaning there's constant things going on. I got to get this done. I have to do that. I have to manage my portion of what it is that we're working on. Or maybe it all lies on you. How many of us have had projects where everything lies on us? If it lies on us, that means we need to be the ones to get it done. And if we're not, then we either need to call in the help or take whatever, I would say, crucial negative comments come when it's not done correctly. Oh, interesting. Oh, interest. Yes, interesting. Interest. That's good. Must be interested. That's really good, Ardelia. You must be interested in getting it done. When we move on in the word of diligence, I talk about the labor that's involved. Those who go to work every day should say that they put in their hours in order to receive the money that they're receiving. Now, I've had people tell me when I was doing counseling that people weren't paying them right. Well, sometimes we must evaluate ourselves to the point where we say, did I do it like I'm supposed to do it? Was I paying attention? Did they have to fix anything that I worked on? Those kinds of things. So labor must be done right. So the labor as a job to do, was it unpleasant? Was it difficult? Was it a piece of work? Because sometimes that's what jobs are. We are sometimes very laborious, having a lot to do, and we don't know how to set it up that it works for whoever we're doing it for, and it works for us where we're satisfied. We should be satisfied with the work that we do. When I worked for the government, I would work overtime. Well, if you were at a certain grade level, there was no overtime, never given it to you. It was always, sorry that you just have more work to do in your area. So I'd work a lot of love. That's true. Oh, I love that. Love, because sometimes you have to love what you're doing. You have to love what you're doing. And the labor sometimes is more than what the pay is going to gain you. You have more work to do. Like I was just saying, I had more work than what they were willing to pay me because they said, well, we pay you at a certain level, meaning that whatever you do it. That's it. You do it. And so labor could mean a headache, could be your effort is not really taken well, even though you have to put in extra effort. It may be a burden. Sometimes labor to us is a burden. We feel it, we feel it in our bodies, we feel it in our minds. and we feel it in what I would call our weariness of it. We just know it's there. It says labor can also be like a bear that's on us. It may be, they call it like a killer at times, a beast, a nuisance. A nuisance. Hey, Sharon Jones. Good morning, Sharon. How are you, my sweet friend? Good to see you in this space. Hope you're doing well. A labor could also be a nuisance. Good morning, May. How are you doing? Good to see you too. Um, Please check your messages. I will. I'll check them after I finish. Thank you. The nuisance and labor is also sweat. I don't know anybody that's worked anything and not sweat for it. Okay. Now, sweat may be pouring off of you, or it may be the sweat of the job. Just the idea that you have so much to do, and your body temperature may be rising a minute. I'm not a person that sweats a lot. If I tell you I'm sweating, that means it's very difficult because my body temperature just stays pretty cool. Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. When we move on in our word of diligence, we talk about the grind. How many of us have dealt with when you hear people say, I gotta do my grind tomorrow. I'm well, Doc. Good. Oh, good to be in the space. Thank you. Um, let's see. Grind really talks about, the fact that it may be your thing you have to do tomorrow or today. I got to grind. I got to get out there and grind. So it's become a catch-all word for work. So the grind or the effort is very hard, and it may be at times unpleasant. It may be unpleasant work that we're doing. It's the effort that we're putting in, and sometimes the labor, the sweat, the toil, the drudgery, the fatigue. I mean, I remember being at jobs and being so tired when I left, I could hardly make it to my door. Okay. And I've done those things such as, I've done out of town, event planning and, and get there and find out all the work is on me because even though they said that they had other people, there were no other people. So I ended up losing meals, losing sleep, and finally, when I got on the plane to come back home, losing the thing that says, I ain't never doing. So I haven't done those things again in the last couple of years. I've had enough. I did it 2 years ago. That's it. Fatigue and then pains. Sometimes some of the jobs that we have that we grind on, they're painful to do. A lot of trouble. A lot of trouble on our joints, a lot of pressure, a lot of anxiety we may carry. The grind is tough. It's a tough thing. We move in our word of diligence. My first E is for effort. I don't believe anybody is on a job unless they got to put in some effort. Now, sometimes you can find that people don't put in any effort, and your effort, if you work with them and they're part of a team, then that means your effort may be greater than anything they're going to contribute towards getting something done, getting a project done. So effort, as in work, is the active use of energy in producing a result. How many of us have had results done and daggone it, there it is. The result falls on you. Amen to that. Yes, indeed, Sharon. Sharon and I know. So effort is the work. It's the exertion. Come on now. Because sometimes you have to work and work and work with your effort, and you're actually exerted when you're finished. It's the expenditure of your energy. It's the pains in your knees and your arms and sometimes even in your head. It's the sweat that goes into everything you're doing. It's the labor. It's your energy. The fact that they're using every single bit of it. It's trouble because sometimes the people that you work with are just that. They're trouble. They don't make it easy for you. And if they know that you might be in a lead position, then they're going to have you lead by also doing all the things that they were supposed to follow up with. It is what it is. It says the effort is also the wild, meaning sometimes it's the unknown. It's whatever you get, but overall it is the endeavor, making sure that you do your best effort no matter what. No matter what. We move in our word of diligence. We talk about navigate. How many of us have had multiple jobs, and one job will absolutely be the one that stamps your work for every bit of that time that you had multiple things to do? One particular project took over. Enjoyment. Oh, thank you, Ardelia. Enjoyment would have been good. If you I would enjoy the money, but if they working me to death, I probably complain, but I would probably leave there feeling confident that I did a good job still, even though, even though. So navigate for me says as into transverse, to make one's way through, across, or over. So sometimes we have to do just that. We have multiple things to do, and we have to figure out, do we prioritize which comes first? Who's in charge of what? You know, do I go back and check what they're in charge of? Check how far along they are. I've been in meetings at times and find out that, or getting ready to go to a meeting and find out that what I requested of someone else is not done. So you go in looking silly because you know the work that was a part of your assessment of what, and that means I didn't navigate right. I didn't tell them all I needed, which is, even if I gave them a time, I just should have gone back and checked on them. Especially once you learn people, learn who you're working with, know who they are, know who they are. Let's see. Navigate also talks about transverse travel. Sometimes you have to travel within your offices, your workspace, to someone else's. I know it may be just one or two doors down. Go on, get up, find out what they're doing. Okay, so that would be, it says also you may have to take a walk. It may be that somebody else you're working with is over on the, two buildings down. You may have to walk. It may have to track what's really going on. What did I give you to do? How far along are you? Are we going to meet our deadline? Because the meeting is probably going to, find out in terms of your assessment as to where you are. And especially if the suspense date is tomorrow. Something else, huh? Then it says navigate also talks about what has been covered, what has been passed over, what has been transmitted to someone else. Sometimes we do that if we can. When did go start? And when will go stop? Because that suspense they to give it. And then it talks about navigate meanings to proceed and to really look at how things are treasured. What am I getting out of this navigation? Where is it? Who's running it? Okay. Next, it talks about the my C and diligence, CE, yes, is career. Everyone should realize that what you do sets your career up, or it can set it down. It can set it forward, or it can set it back. If you're known in the career, in your career, of not completing anything, never on point, always argumentative, that may be a snag into completing anything that says you put in the diligence to say that you completed something. So it says in career, it's a profession at which one trains and which is undertaken as a permanent calling. And that's most people, once they get into something, they're there. They're there. And it says it's also a field or a pursuit of a consecutive progressive achievement, especially in something that is considered public, professional, or business life. That's us. Conscious is great. How conscious are we? That's really good. I'll tell you. How conscious are we of doing what we need to do? Sometimes we're not. Sometimes we're not. And I'm just the opposite. I'm probably over conscious, thinking, okay, now I did this, and I'll go back and ask somebody again, did you finish your part? Sometimes they did, sometimes they don't. So career talks about what is being practiced, how one is living while on the job. It talks about the work they're doing, the mission that's been set before them, the service that's involved, the task that's been required of them, and it addresses the bottom line, which would be their livelihood, their money. It could be a vocation, and it can be solidly their employment. So for people who sign up as computer specialists, and then they get to a job and they can't work on the computer, is that a problem? You darn tootin' it is. A person that does, I was watching TV yesterday while I was cooking dinner, and it was two ladies that were talking about one had gone to this professional hairdresser who would make wigs that looked like they were perfect. And the way the wig was made up, it was supposed to be so beautiful and so adorning that everyone that went to this person, that was what the write-up said. So when they went to the person, they told them how much it would charge, and they figured out the style. She says, well, I only buy the hair that I like, so forth and so on. So anyway, they ended up making it up, the hairdresser did, and sold it for $880. I remember that $880 for the wig. So the woman took it home, and within 2 weeks, she said she left there. It was beautiful. She was gorgeous, so forth and so on. Within 2 weeks, the hair had been destroyed. It had tangled. It looked matted. It was horrible. And in the court case that was on, the judge actually went with the one who decided they were bringing the lawsuit against the other person. And she said, I'm doing it for the reason that you didn't follow her instructions, and you used, I think it was coconut oil. Sometimes we get out of line because we don't follow instructions. I'd rather take something like that back and say the product itself or what you've given me doesn't meet, what I feel it should. I didn't put anything on it. And even though the instructions are there, I want you to do it. I'd have gone back to her. That's me personally. But where sometimes the bottom line doesn't meet what we expect, but then we can't tamper with it. We can't make it worse. And sometimes we do. Sometimes we do. My last word here for my second E, somebody already used it, and I think it was Ardelia, for employment. When we're looking at diligence, we have to think of our employment, because employment may be current, but then what if something closes down? What if the business closes? What if there's, how else am I going to be employed? I tell people to look for all of their talents and work variously at various talents at times that make it work for them. That's what I tell people. And I do that. I'll sing, I'll write, I'll do anything, do calligraphy, anything to just keep it that I'm looking at feeding into my own talents. Evaluation. Oh, that's a good one, because others do evaluate us. Thank you, Maurice. Comfort and that, yes. So employment for me, as it's in our profession, is the activity by which one regularly makes a living. We go to work every day. Some of us may not have to go every day, but we work from home, or we do various things that suggest that we are in a profession. So employment talks about the occupation that we've chosen. Endurance. Ooh, that's good. Because I do feel that sometimes we must endure whatever the job brings to us, whatever that work sets before us, that we have to be diligent. We have to have diligence in order to get through it, because sometimes they're asking too much of us. Employment can equal employment. Absolutely. Meaning that, and I get that, because that means if I do well here, Somebody else may want me to come over there and do it for more money or do it alongside what I'm currently doing. Maybe it's at different hours where it works for me. So I love that. Those are both good, endurance and that. So employment also means the job, the mission that you've taken on, the position. Because sometimes I always used to have this saying, and I had started a book called Leading from the Middle. A lot of times the best talent is in the middle. It's not at the top. It's not at the bottom. It's in the middle. And so to me, the people in the middle of any working situation really have the best advantage because they should be able to see what's up above and they can also see what is beneath them. So they're the ones to me that can be the mortar, the glue that brings things together to make them work. Um, and some people don't like being in the middle because they think being at the top is the best. But sometimes the tops gets too watered or it gets too burned. So if you look at it in a sense that makes sense to me, the middle can be comfortable as long as you're high enough up where you're being paid for whatever it is that you're doing, but you're also connecting or in a position to connect. What comes from the bottom that goes through you can go to the top. That's how I look at it. So employment is also engagement. It's an assignment. Sometimes we don't like our assignments, but we have them anyway. It's the task and it's the office that we work in. In some instances, it may be the fact that you don't go to a physical office because you're working from home. You know, I don't know. I had the last 4 years of working for the government. I worked home 3 days, 1 week, and 2 days the other week in a 2 week period. And then I was off the 10th day. So I worked 9-hour days. It worked for me. I got my work done. I didn't, what I would say, ramble the time and run it up in another direction. I did what I was supposed to do. And it was collectively a good fit for the government and for me. I think some of those folks are still working from home now. But anyway, when I think of diligence, I think of my perseverance, yours, all of ours, that we work towards the end of completing certain projects and that we're paid accordingly, that we shouldn't be short sheeted in any way by what it is that we do and versus how we're paid. We should be paid for whatever we are contributing to, whatever it is. But listen, unless it's volunteer. And people will ask you to volunteer. And I say, if you want to volunteer, volunteer. I volunteer a lot. I do. But listen, based on today's session, be diligent. Think of your work as something that is a reflection of who you are. I love you guys. I love you for coming in and sharing some time with me and looking at words to make more words, to make conversation. Certainly, if you don't mind, hit it says coins are welcome. That's only if you wanted to do that. But I say hit the share button and let folks know that there's a Dr. Winnie out here just having a little fun with words and bringing them to them and making it where they make sense to them. Because it's not, am I stuck? It's, are you stuck? Just adding more. An awesome session that will be shared. Thank you, Ardelia. I love you guys. I love you. Love you, Ardelia. Love you, Maurice and Sharon and everybody else that peeked in and out. Look, come on in. Stay a while. I love it. I'll see you soon. Friday, I'll be back with another word. Okay? Have a good. Be safe out there. Thanks. Bye-bye.